Hey everybody, I haven't posted much lately because I've been spending a lot of my free time building guns, but I'm in the testing phase on a few of them, so I figured I'd talk about some of the interesting problems and challenges that come up when you build your own firearms. This is my third time taking each of these to the range, and they'll need a few more range trips before they're fully dialed in, but let's talk about it. This was a real Israeli IMI Uzi that I re-welded back together and converted to a semi-auto closed bolt striker fired rifle. It's actually a pretty straightforward build and conversion, but a steep learning curve as I'm completely new to striker fire designs, but also because I was teaching myself how to TIG weld. A mistake I did make was I bought what's called a semi-auto barrel when I should have bought a full auto barrel. Even though this is a semi-auto gun, I'm using the original full auto trunnion, which is why I should have bought a full auto barrel. The difference is the semi-auto barrel has a smaller outside diameter, which gives it some play in the full auto trunnion meant for the thicker profile barrel. My cheap remedy for this was to cut up a Coke can and use the aluminum to wrap around the barrel and make it the correct thickness, and it worked. Now, I did have a lot of malfunctions early on with feeding and ejection. The feeding issues turned out to simply be a bad magazine, which should have been the first thing I isolated to rule out as the problem, but having built the gun myself, my instinct was to examine all the things I could have messed up first. Here I caught one of the ejection issues on camera. The Uzi is able to chamber a new round without fully expelling the old brass. And then on the next shot it shoots out one brass, leaves one in the chamber, and tries to insert a new round, just gumming up the whole thing. I know the Israelis use really hot 9mm ammunition, so I'll try hotter ammo next. Next up is the Uzi's big brother. I built this from an Israeli FAL parts kit on a DSA receiver and barrel. On my first trip to the range, it wouldn't cycle even on the max gas settings, so I re-drilled the gas port larger. The Israelis did use two different size gas ports, and my kit happened to like the larger one. Now that it cycles, I've been playing around with the gas setting a lot, but I can't seem to get it to eject as consistently as my Rhodesian FAL. At this point, I think it's a weak extractor spring, so I'll order one of those, but for this range trip, I was constantly adjusting the gas system to play with it. Also, this rifle does recoil a lot harder than my Rhodey, but I think that's having to do with not having a muzzle device, because the recoil spring seems fine. Using the DS Arms barrel did cause me to have to do extra work that I didn't need to do on my other build when I used a surplus barrel. In order to time the barrel correctly, I did need to file down the shelf so that the barrel would sit in deeper into the receiver. And I also experienced another common problem when mating the DSA Israeli style receiver with the DSA Israeli style barrel, in that the rifle shoots way low. Mark over at Arizona Response Systems has talked about this. It shoots so low that you can't adjust the front sight enough to bring the rounds on target. So what you need to do is bring the front sight post as low as it can go and then file it down to make it lower. And lastly, we have a British World War II Sten Mark 5 on an Indianapolis Ordnance semi-auto kit. I've had too many problems to list with this one, but all of them having to do with the fire control group. And I was actually really happy to get these 2 rounds out of it without any problems at all. But now you're about to witness my first ever slam fire. You'll see my hand is nowhere near the trigger when the gun goes off, and I had it safely pointed downrange to impact the berm. I take firearm safety very serious, and this is a good reminder of why that is. Now, I'm pretty disappointed in how this gun is turning out, and building old firearms like this is at times the most frustrating thing in the world, but it's incredibly rewarding when you can bring them back to life. Plus, the process of building one of these really helps you intimately understand not only what makes them work, but understand why specific choices were made in their design. And with that, my appreciation for good firearm design has increased, and I look forward to learning and working on other designs in the future. I own parts kits for an MG42 and PKM, PPSH-41, Suomi, the Rhodesian Commando, Bren gun, as well as more AKs and FALs, because those are the 2 firearm designs I'm most impressed with. And also, my friend Greg has a 3D printer, and there's lots we can do with that. But that's it for this video. Remember, owning firearms is dangerous, but not owning firearms is even more dangerous, as history shows. Thanks for watching, and consider giving the video a like on your way out.